Good morning, Dot Sisters. How are you? This is Jazz. I'm in Eastern Ontario. I am your speaker coordinator for the Canada chapter and your resident moonologer, bringing you some tips and ideas about the moon and the planets and astrology so that you can find greater flow and joy being you, completely you, in your business. So, a few things that are happening, and I'm quite happy about it because the changes that are happening are really good for the type of business that I'm in, which is spiritual awareness and growth. But it's also good for you if you tap into your spirituality, into your inner resources, into your emotional intelligence to grow your business. So the way that business will grow in the next 2 years is going to be very different from what it was in the past, certainly the past 2 years and before. Here is why I say that. So Saturn, whom I call Saturn the taciturn, because Saturn is one of the biggest planets. It does have a lot of pull in terms of energy. And when Saturn is around, Saturn is like that party pooper. It's very serious. It's the one who says, but have you thought about all the consequences? So it's really good to know where Saturn is because that's where your biggest life lessons are. And it's not the fun lollipop and rainbows, but this is like the deep thoughts, questions. This is what Saturn really brings. As Scorpio rising, I love those deep thoughts, right? So these are some of the deep thoughts that Saturn is inviting you to look in recently. So first of all, what happened in March 2020? Do you remember? Who doesn't remember? March 2020, the world went into shutdown pretty much, at least here in Canada, right? It was the pandemic. Let's look at the parallel with the stars. In March of 2020, Saturn moved into Aquarius. What is Aquarius? Aquarius is a sign of our social programs, right? And going out into humanity. And isn't that interesting to notice a coincidence that when Saturn is into Aquarius, all of humanity kind of came to a standstill. And so many of us started thinking about, well, how do I want life to be? Do I really want to continue? Is it really good for us? Is it for our highest good to continue life the way it was before, which is like the monkey race and going for the money and just growing your empire? Is that really the best for us as humanity? And I know that a lot of people have discovered that working from home, having a garden, reconnecting with the earth, having perhaps different types of medicine that is more natural, that served them a whole lot better. So there's a lot in the past 2 years, there's been a lot of thinking around who do we want to be, how do we want to show up as a community, right? So that's the influence of Saturn in Aquarius. And that cycle is ending. Yay! Next week, Saturn is moving into Pisces. So now is a Pisces area of your life that is going to be that kind of heavier rethinking energy. And what Pisces is bringing in terms of rethinking is your inner life, your dreams, the time that you give yourself for well-being, for like daydreaming, to taking trips, to nourishing your soul, to going deep into the emotional healing and the emotional intelligence, about having flow, because Pisces is a water sign, so it's all about finding better flow. So don't wait for the world to stop again, but you might rethink how you show up for your spiritual self. No matter the structure that you use, whether it's a church or an organization or your spiritual practice, but Saturn is asking for a recommitment to your spiritual practice. And how often in business, you know, some people think that money is the god, or, you know, it's that growth, but is it really? So reconsider who you are, how you show up, where you put that spiritual energy. And because the next 2 years, you're going to be asked by so many different ways to look into that. So how can you create a meditation practice, a spiritual practice, an emotional self-care practice that is going to support your business? Because as you know, business is not just about the funnels and the strategy. Business is also about your energy and how you show up. And now we need to nourish that energy. So this is for the next 2 years, that cycle that's happening. So I'm super excited about that because I can help you with that for sure. The other thing that's changed, as you saw in the comments, is the nodes are shifting. Well, they've shifted in January, actually. The nodes, it's like a mathematical equation. When the cycle of the moon, the orbit of the moon intersects the orbit of the Earth. And that also changed in March 2020. And now, with this new shift also between Taurus and Scorpio, the big question being brought for your awareness is, what is your relationship again with Taurus? It's money and well-being and accumulating wealth, working hard for your money. And Scorpio, which is about being the detective and your depth of emotion, not the surface stuff, but the depth of emotion. Again, your emotional resilience, emotional intelligence. So when I see that themes are repeating, like with Saturn and the nodes, that makes me think that this is going to be something that's going to be really important for us to tap into, to dive into for the next 2 years. So if you don't have a practice where you nourish your soul, where you journal, meditate, take walks in nature, I urge you, for your highest good, to do something that works well for you. And if you don't know what works well for you, start experimenting, because you know what works best for you. But if you want to talk about it and see what your soul would really want for you to do, I can help you with that as well, looking at your star chart or looking at your Akashic records, a mix of all the above. I also have the journals, lunation workbooks available on Amazon to help you dive deep, dive deep into your psyche so that you can heal what's holding you back, so that you can really grow your business from a place of love and peace and flow, but very grounded doing so, because you still want the success. For a lot of us spiritual healers, it's being paid for the work that we do, because a lot of people think that spiritual services have to be free, religious services have to be free. And is that really the truth? When we invest so much energy into and money into our own training to be that guide. So there's a whole shift of perspectives being there. So the big questions for you is, are you investing in a spiritual, meditative, journaling, self-care practice? If no, why? And what can you do to start this? Because you will need this in the next 2 years. Don't let, hindsight tell you, oh, I really should have done that. Do it now, right? The moon is going to be in Aries very soon, which is the time to do something about it. So don't just think about it, do something about it. And then rethink your criteria for success and abundance, and make sure that working yourself to burnout is not part of that definition anymore. But you want to create success on your own terms in a way that flows well for you, where you feel good, where you feel empowered and joyful to offer the services that you do. So I hope this served you well. Please do write down in the comments how this resonated with you. And I'm sending you big, big hugs from my heart to yours. Bye for now.